just before I left for Australia a couple of weeks ago, I was on a show on CNN called Sonia Live, and Sonia and I went to school together. I mean, we've been friends forever, and we sat down to do the interview, and she said to me, "Wayne Dyer, it says here that that you haven't had a cold in 15 years." She said, "Now I've known you for a long time." She said, "Very frankly, I don't believe that." Well, that's Sonia. That's the way she works. That's fine. I love Sonia. And there was a time when if somebody said that to me on national television, I would say, "Well, wait a minute. Now I have to defend myself." And you get into that position of, "I'm going to call my doctor right now," or whatever, and start defending yourself. And when you get to be free, you don't need to defend yourself. You know. You just have this knowing. And I said, "That's all right if you don't believe it." And I said, next question. There was no anxiety about it. There was no, I don't care if millions of people are watching. It doesn't make any difference. I'm not attached to any of that. It's like, I know. I know that I don't get those things, and it's fine if you don't believe it. You don't have to. I'm not living my life for that reason. It's like being self-referred rather than object-referred. And I can do the same thing even with criticism. There was, I now get letters, when I get letters of criticism, which you do, which everyone does, and I even tell my own children over and over again when they worry about their reputation, all that, I say, forget your reputation. It's not located in you. You go out and give a talk to 1,000 people, you leave, you have 1,000 reputations. What am I going to do, follow every one of you home? Did you like me? Did you think I was all right? What did you think? Some will think great, some not. Some going to think, "Oh, he's got more hair than Bernie." So I'm going to say, "Well, maybe he shaved his head," You can't be consumed with that. I say the only thing I tell my children is forget about your reputation because it's not located in you, and if it's not located in you, let it go. Don't be attached to that. But you can be concerned with your character, with who you are, and just be that and get your life on purpose. Now, I must say to you very frankly that I wasn't always this way, particularly about criticism. Now when I get letters of criticism from people, I send them a free book. Another one, or flowers, or I don't find myself needing to defend myself.
You begin to change your thinking from appearances and how things look and how other people view me, okay? Because every time you find yourself upset in life about anything that anyone else has said, what you're really saying is what you think of me is more important than what I think of me, all right? So you change from appearances to what I call quality thinking. Quality. What is the quality of my life rather than how does it appear to others? Now, do you tell yourself that because my friends don't like me, that means there's something wrong with me? No, that's what you have to learn. That another person's opinion is just that. It's their opinion, and that's all it is. Every time you are upset, or your children are upset, because of what somebody else says about them, including their peers, what you are really saying in that moment, and this is really important, what you're saying is, what you think of me is more important than what I think of myself. And you must never give anybody that kind of power and control over you, because they will always have it.
None of us are spiritually superior to any of the rest of us. We are all here on purpose, looking for a way to serve. See, we come in with nothing, and we're here, and we leave. And our life here is a parenthesis in eternity. It opens parentheses, it closes parentheses, and we go out with nothing. And this is an intelligent system that we're in. So in an intelligent system, when you come in with nothing and leave with nothing, the reason for being here has to have something to do with the opposite of getting. Because getting means trying to hang on to it. And that's an illusion. It's not real. It isn't real unless it never changes. And everything that you want to hang on to is. So that the only thing you can do with your life is give it away. And when you know that you're here not to get, but the opposite of that, to give, My mantra before I come out on a stage like this is, how may I serve? I started at 5 o'clock, and I said it until 20 to 7, over and over and over again in my hotel room. How may I serve? 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 That's what we're here for.
And the affirmation for this is, the divine creative power within me brings to me all that I want with happiness, love, and peace. The key word here is attract. Attract to yourself that which you desire. What you desire desires you, or what you want wants you. And it's really coming to understand that there is an energy that will bring things to you, that will have things begin to show up. And this is not to say that you just put out your manifestation desire and then just sit around and wait for some huge magnet in the sky to just turn on and be facing towards you and have everything just go, there it is. There's an element of working with this divine universal force that is everywhere, and a part of this divine essence. It is a divine creation. As you become more tuned into this divine consciousness, you begin to see that there's really a spiritual solution to every problem in your life. That the things that don't seem to be working, the problems that you may have, whatever they are, in relationships, in finances, in healing, and so on, that there is a solution in the physical plane that requires you to get up and do certain kinds of things and act in certain ways. But in back of that action is a thought. And the same force, or the same power that moves waves to particles, which is the act of creation, also moves your pictures or your thoughts into the world of form. The same intelligence, the same energy that moves a star across the sky moves a thought across your mind. This energy, this attractiveness, this attraction, this pull towards you and realignment of your intention with divine purpose is something that we can't measure in the physical world the way we would like to be able to measure it, the way we can measure ohms and watts and so on when we're talking about electricity. Nevertheless, it is exactly the very same power, and the power that allows for anything to go from wave to particle also is behind your ability to think, and therefore your ability to picture, and your ability to decide what it is that you do desire. There is something inside of you that allows you to desire something. It isn't the desire I'm talking about. I'm talking about that which gives birth to it, that which allows it to be. The analogy here is when you begin to take care of your body in a certain way and to treat it well, to give it plenty of water, to avoid toxins, to give it the rest that it needs, to nourish it with the proper vitamins and minerals, to give it the proper amount of exercise, to do the things that show that you are respectful of this garage that is housing your soul. It becomes automatic. It isn't any longer something that you have to struggle with, that you have to work on, and that you have to think about all the time. You go to automatic. It's a lot like writing also, and creating, and painting, and music. You know, when Picasso was interviewed about his painting, and they asked him, how do you paint? He said, when I go into the studio, I leave my body and my mind at the door, the way the Muslims leave their shoes before they enter the mosque. And I just allow my spirit into that world. The spirit, this soul, this force that I have talked so much about in this whole entire program, is really a power of love that you feel in your heart. It isn't something that you process with your mind. But when you understand it and know that it is an energy that is working, that brings things into the world, into your world, realigns you, if you will, with what it is you'd like to create or have for yourself, you begin to cooperate. See, this divine intelligence will cooperate with you. But again, only if you feel that you're worthy, and only if you know that you and it are connected. The minute you sense any sense of separation, it shuts off. The minute you place an obstacle there, it will shut off.
The ability to see beauty everywhere. I remember the day that I wrote about beauty appreciation as a quality of higher consciousness, as the highest representation of emotional health that you can have. The ability to see beauty anywhere and to source your life from its presence in virtually anything. We were in Lourdes, and in the morning we went to an English Mass where all of the people who spoke English showed up at 9 o'clock. And all of the people, my wife and all of the others that were there in Lourdes, were standing there listening to the priest from Ireland give this morning Mass in English for St. Bernadette. And it was pouring, pouring, pouring rain that morning. And by that night, during the procession, it cleared up. It was so magnificent. But that morning, and it seemed fitting, since this woman materialized this healing water, that we be in the rain. I don't know, there was something that just felt right. And everybody, all of the people kept coming over to me with umbrellas, and all of them kept telling me, oh, isn't it a shame that we have to come all the way here and stand here in the rain? And I kept thinking, it's so magnificent. Just get away from me with your umbrella behavior. Enjoy the rain. And the day that I wrote about John Keats in Wisdom of the Ages, about beauty appreciation as one of the 60 qualities of self-actualization and how to apply it in your life, I read all about his life. He was called the greatest poet of the 19th century by the Britannica. Greatest poet of the 19th century, the greatest Victorian poet. And he wrote a poem called Ode on a Grecian Urn. And in that poem he says words to this effect: when death shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain amidst others' woe. This thou, this eternal thou. And he concludes that observation with these words: beauty is truth, and truth is beauty. That's all you need to know on earth, and all there is to know. Do you know that John Keats died at the age of 25? 25? Imagine what passion he must have felt in his heart. Imagine how important it must have been for him to be detached from other people's thoughts about what he should be doing with his life. And he would sit down and write over 4,000 beautiful poems. And pass away at the age of 25, and his brother passed away at 22 or 23. Independence of the good opinion of others, detachment from outcome, appreciation of beauty, living with passion. That's emotional intelligence. It's 100,000 cycles per second. And every time you find yourself in a place where someone is attempting to bring you down into fear, into worry, into anxiety, into stress, by contaminating your energy field with their story or with their attempts to make you feel guilty, or their idea of you should really be upset because I am too, or whatever it is that you are being exposed to in your life, you have the option at that moment to just say to yourself, but what you think of me is none of my business. And I have to be in a place where I can emotionally stay strong regardless of whether or not anyone out there thinks that I should be reacting in a different way. That's 100,000 cycles per second. And you know something? After a while, it isn't something that is anxiety producing. It isn't something that people will dislike you for. As a matter of fact, people around you will begin to respect you more, because people respect strength, not weakness. Power versus force. When you become empowered, you are respected. People will want to know more of how you're able to be that way in the face of such things. And you begin to see everything in a different light. Everything. And you know, the same bewilderment can be experienced and enjoyed and processed in the city, and in your home, and in your bedroom, and sitting on your couch, and in your car, anywhere. You can look for the beauty, you can look for all of the miracles that are around it, or you can be looking for all the things that are wrong. And again, it's if you put your attention on what's wrong, then your energy goes down. If you put your attention on the problem magnifies. If you put your attention on the solution, on what is right, and what you love, and how phenomenal this moment is, that will be your experience of life. And the great masters go through life and see everything like that. As Whitman said to me, every cubic inch of space is a miracle. You don't look for miracles. You live one. And I very, very seldom talk to anybody on an airplane, because to me, a flight of 2.5 or 3 hours is an opportunity to meditate and to get quiet, especially if there's loud people around me and a lot of noise and a lot of distractions and so on. To me, that's the ultimate opportunity. It's like having a leaf blower on board, you know? Because I'm still trying to work on those little guys that carry those things around. Thank you, God, for sending me this annoying little And so, but for some reason, I started talking to this gentleman, and as things began to progress, he, it turns out, is going through a real nasty divorce. And his wife of the last 12 or 13 years or so, his second marriage, is a man my age, 61 years old, who was really struggling in his relationships and with this, and his ex-wife is giving him all kinds of problems about wanting half of everything that he's ever created, and wanting, you know, he's going through all of the reasons why she was wrong, and how wrong she was, and how she had no right to do that, and how they had made an agreement before they got married, and they'd signed it, and now she wants to throw that out, and it's all greed. And meantime, he's overweight, and he's suffering from various kinds of stress-related things in his life. Candidate for an ulcer for sure. Blood pressure going up, lots of headaches, illness. All of these things will come about from this kind of way of processing your life. So I asked him the question. I said, if I had 2 wands, and the first wand was one I said, look, you can have everything you want in your life, including being right. And you can keep all of that you've ever amassed in your life, and you can make her wrong, and you can shut her out by paying a lot of money to attorneys, and you can win. And you can have all of the stuff that you've accumulated. You get that with this wand. I said, yeah. He said, I like that. I said, but you can't have that wand if you take this wand, and this wand is one which I say to you that no matter what comes your way for the rest of your life, no matter what you encounter, you will have peace. You will be at peace. So no matter what she says or anybody does to you or whatever comes along, you're going to be at peace. Which would you take? And he said, well, obviously, I would take the one to be at peace. I said, well, from this moment on, you have that choice. You can make the decision to be at peace. And you can still hire whoever it is that you need to hire in order to take care of all of these transactions, but you can instruct them that I don't want any news other than that which will bring me to peace. If you have something to say to me that will not make me peaceful, you just deal with it. That's what I'm paying you for. That's your job. Your job is to keep me at peace. Don't tell me anything about she has no right to do. I don't want to hear any of that. Whatever you tell me, it has to bring me peace. Otherwise, just handle it yourself. I said, you can do that. And I said, in the end, even if she takes half of everything that you've ever accumulated in your life, the other half is more that you could spend in the next 25 lifetimes anyway. So your attachment to being right and not being at peace is the thing that is going to destroy you. And you might win, but on the day that you win, you'll probably drop dead. Or wish that you had, because you'll be so sick. Take your choice. I can choose peace, says the Course in Miracles, rather than this. Tattoo it to your forehead. It's what spirit is about. And that's where you want to place your attention and your energy. Not on what is wrong, but on what it is that you feel in your heart you can do to bring us all closer to God. And the grieving process that some of you referred to in your questions is not necessarily the self-actualized way that that you handle tragedies in our lives. I remember a book by Ernest Hemingway called The Islands in the Stream. And this man finds out that his son has just been killed in the war overseas in Europe. And that night he's at a party and he's dancing. And someone said to him, how could you possibly be here when you found out what happened to your son this afternoon? And his answer in that novel was, sooner or later, I know I'm going to have to get over this or it will destroy me. I just picked sooner. And that sounds cruel to some of us who believe that we have to spend a long time suffering. But I remember when Nisargadatta said to a woman who complained to her about her cancer, she said, I suffer so. And he said, you do not suffer. Only the person you imagine yourself to be suffers. And when she responded, you can't tell me that you don't suffer, she wanted to make him wrong. And she started pointing out all the things that were wrong in India, and the war with Pakistan, and all of the pestilence, and all of the poverty, and all of the horrible things, and the starvation, and so on. And he looked at her and said straight away, and I'll never forget this, he said, ma'am, in my world, nothing ever goes wrong. That's not something I'm asking you to just embrace enthusiastically. I know that you've been raised in a certain way, as I have, and I ache when I see children hurt, when I see people maimed. And I'm suggesting to you that there is another way to even begin to look at all of this from the perspective of yourself as an infinite soul. And the problem then no longer becomes something that you are living with in agony and pain and suffering and creating all of the diseases of your life, but it becomes a clarion call to bring the world closer to God. And like I said about my father, maybe he signed up to be a jerk, to be a thief, to be a drunk, in order to teach me how to forgive it. I'm not saying it's easy, but as Maslow said, those are the flaws of self-actualizing people.
9th verse of the Tao Te Ching. Quote, to keep on filling is not as good as stopping. Overfilled, the cupped hands drip. Better to stop pouring. Sharpen a blade too much, and its edge will soon be lost. Fill your house with jade and gold, and it brings insecurity. Puff yourself with honor and pride, and no one can save you from a fall. Retire when the work is done. This is the way of heaven. Unquote. Living humility. As the eternal Tao is in a continuous state of creating, it knows precisely when enough is enough. Deep within ourselves, we sense that this organizing principle of unconditional supply knows when to stop, so we don't need to question the qualities that the Tao brings forth. The creative source is beautifully balanced in the principle of humility elucidated in this 9th verse of the Tao Te Ching. The Tao has the capability to generate everything in amounts that would stupefy an observer, yet its gentle humility seems to know when there are enough trees, flowers, and bees, and hippos, and every other living thing. Excess is eschewed by the Tao. It doesn't need to show off its unlimited capacity for creating. It knows exactly when to stop. This verse invites us to be in spiritual rapport with this profound characteristic of the Tao. Cramming life with possessions, pleasures, pride, and activities when we're obviously reached a point where more is less indicates being in harmony with ego, not the Tao. Living humility knows when to just stop, to let go and enjoy the fruits of our labor. This verse clearly analogizes that the purpose of more status, more money, more power, more approval, more stuff is as foolish as honing a carving knife after it's reached its zenith of sharpness. Obviously, to continue would just create dullness, and it is obvious that a keen edge represents perfection. Lao Tzu advises us to be careful about amassing great wealth and storing it away. This practice contributes to a life spent keeping our fortune safe and insured, while at the same time always feeling the need to pursue more. He counsels us to be satisfied at a level that fosters living with humility. If wealth and fame are desired, we must know when to retire from the treadmill and be like the Tao. This is the way of heaven, as opposed to the world that we live in, which is addicted to more. We can heighten our awareness that advertising is primarily designed to sell products and services by convincing us that we need something in order to be happy. Analysts might tell us that the economy is failing if it isn't continuously growing. But we can realize that excessive growth, like cancer, will ultimately destroy itself. We can witness the results of overproduction in the gridlock on most highways. It now takes longer to go from one side of London to the other than it did before the invention of the automobile. We also see this principle at work whenever we shop. I call it choice overload. Pain pills for backaches, menstrual cramps, headaches, joint pains in the morning or at night in a capsule or liquid or a powder. And this is true whether we're purchasing toilet paper, orange juice, or anything else. I believe that Lao Tzu sends the following modern advice from his ancient perspective. First, come to grips with the radical concept of enough is enough. Make this commitment, even though you live in a world addicted to the idea that one can never have enough of anything. To paraphrase Lao Tzu, do your work and then step back. Practice humility rather than ostentation and uncontrolled consumption. The obesity crisis in the Western world, particularly in America, is a direct result of not understanding and living the simple wisdom of this 9th verse of the Tao Te Ching. Eat, but stop when you're full. To continue stuffing food into a satiated body is to be trapped into believing that more of something is the cause of your happiness. And this is true of overly filling yourself with any artificial symbol of success. Think instead of the infinite wisdom of the Tao, which says, to keep on filling is not as good as stopping. Enough is not only enough, it is in alignment with the perfection of the eternal Tao. And secondly, seek the joy in your activities rather than focusing on ego's agenda. Ego wants you to gather more and more rewards for your actions. If you're in a state of loving appreciation in each of your present moments, you're letting go of the absurd idea that you're here to accumulate rewards and merit badges for your efforts. Seek the pleasure in what you're doing rather than how it might ultimately benefit you. Begin to trust in that infinite wisdom that birthed you into this material world. After all, it knew the exact timing of your arrival here. It didn't say, if 9 months will create such a beautiful baby, I'm going to extend the gestation period to 5 years. Now we'll have an even more perfect creation. No, the Tao says that 9 months is perfect. That's what you get, and you don't need any more. The next time you're mired in a decision for more, stop and think of the Tao. This creation principle fully grasps the idea that when the work is done, then for God's sake it's time to stop. As Lao Tzu advises, this is the way of heaven. Why ever choose to be in conflict with that? Do the Tao now. The last 5 minutes of your day before you enter into your sleep state are the most important 5 minutes of your day if you're going to begin living a wishes-fulfilled life. In this brief portion of your day, you're going to tell your subconscious mind how you feel and what wishes God, the universal one subconscious mind, is to fulfill upon awakening from your deep slumber. This 5-minute segment of time in your bed, about to enter into your subconscious and marinate for the next 8 hours or so, is the most crucial segment of your entire 24-hour day. You can use this time in one of two ways. Let me explain them both to you, and then you can decide which one you choose to adopt for yourself, keeping in mind that what you impress upon your subconscious mind is what the universal one subconscious mind will offer you in your waking hours. Your subconscious mind is indifferent to what you want or what is best for you. It cannot make a distinction between what you are feeling as a result of all that happens to you throughout your waking hours, or what you feel as a result of what you are imagining for yourself as having already transpired while you are in bed preparing to doze off to sleep. Number 1, choosing to review the day's frustrations and disappointments. As you lie in bed, you can use this time prior to entering your subconscious mind to review everything that transpired throughout the day that caused you to feel unhappy, dejected, frustrated, angry, and so on. You can think sad thoughts about all of the people who disappointed you and review in your imagination via your inner dialogue with yourself how unhappy all of that made you. You can spend these critical moments worrying about all of the things that didn't work out the way you wanted them to, and projecting onto your subconscious mind evidence for things continuing to transpire in the same way that they always have. You can go over the argument you had with others and conclude that these people really do make you unhappy. You can use your mind to relive how fearful you are that things are not going to improve. You can even predict that a great calamity is about to befall you and your family, and there's nothing to be done to stave it off. You can picture in your mind the worst possible outcome concerning your own health or the health of a loved one. You can imagine yourself filing for bankruptcy or not getting the job you desire, or a natural disaster striking you, or you feeling even sicker when you awaken. The potential disasters that you can entertain with your thoughts as you prepare to go to sleep could fill the next 100 or so pages of this book I'm reading. Whatever you opt for, such as these examples of thoughts that make you feel bad, is a choice to send those messages to your subconscious just as you are about to go to sleep. In effect, you are imprinting your subconscious mind with, I am unhappy, I am frustrated, I am pessimistic, I am afraid, and so on. Your subconscious mind, unable to distinguish between what you are telling it through your pre-sleep conditioning ritual and what is actually happening in your everyday world, says to you, okay, I've got it. I got it. Your thoughts are on what you do not want and what you despise, and your feelings in your body bring you worry, fear, anxiety, hate, sadness, and the like. Your subconscious mind responds with no desire to change your conscious waking state because it only reacts to what you place there. So it will proceed to offer you experiences from the universal one subconscious mind that aligns with what you've programmed it to do. If you decide you do not want to go to sleep with the first choice in your consciousness, you can develop a new habit for your habitual mind to latch onto. You do have an alternative. Those last 5 minutes of the day are your 5 minutes, and they're yours alone. Consider the second option, using your last waking moments before sleep, programming your subconscious mind in a new way. And this is the second choice, number 2. Choosing to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. As you lie in bed, feeling drowsy and knowing that you're about to go to sleep, where your subconscious mind is most at home, use these final pre-slumber moments to align with your source of being and become a wishes-fulfilled spiritual being. In these pre-sleep moments, you can program your subconscious mind to automatically present you with fulfilled wishes. These last 5 minutes awake, then, are your final pep talk to your subconscious mind. You want to focus on assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled that you've placed into your imagination. Here's what Neville offers on this topic. It may be the most valuable information you've ever received in your life. Quote, the feeling which comes in response to the question, how would I feel were my wish realized, is the feeling which should monopolize and immobilize your attention as you relax into sleep. You must be in the consciousness of being or having that which you want to be or have done before you drop off to sleep. Unquote. So this is what you must ask yourself as you get closer and closer to dropping off into the unconsciousness of sleep. If my wishes were realized, how would it feel right here, right now in my body? Stay with that thought until you begin to feel your body shift into what that feels like. At first, you will be calling upon your ego, which believes that it is separate from God or the universal source of all. And an inner voice will say, "This is silly. I am sick, I am sore, I am dying, and I am only fooling myself." So simply dismiss these mind viruses and conditioned memes, since you are free to use these 5 minutes in any way that you choose. Repeat a new I am that shifts you to the state of the realized wish. Repeatedly tell yourself that I am God in action, and immediately check in with your body to feel the shift from fear and anxiety to peace, love, and contentment. After a little practice, you will find this repeating I am in your mind begins to impact how you are feeling. Sensations of worry and pain slowly dissolve as you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And it is at this point that you allow yourself to drop off to sleep. Use these precious pre-sleep moments to assume the feeling in your body of whatever wishes you desire as already fulfilled. You could contemplate my favorite quotation from Saint Germain in the I Am Discourses. Quote, "I want so much to have you feel that you are the only authority in this world, or any other. So far as your world is concerned, do not ever fear that the perfecting of your world is going to disfigure anyone else's world, so long as your intent is not to harm anyone. It does not matter what the world about you says, or how much they try to intrude upon you their doubts, their fears, and their limitations. You are the supreme authority in your world, and all you have to do is say, when you are beset by these conditions, I am the mighty, magic circle of protection about me that is invincible and repels from me every discordant thought and element which seeks to find entrances or intrude itself. I am the perfection of my world, and it is self-sustained." Unquote. Does it feel natural? There will be times when you doubt your ability to attract into life the successful fulfillment of your wishes, including the ideal person you would like to be. I'm addressing this question from the position of the overly conditioned ego that's been trained to believe it's preposterous to think you can become what you would like to be by simply assuming the feeling in your body of your wishes being fulfilled. Neville alerts you to this disruptive influence with these words, quote, "The time it takes your assumption to become fact, your desire to be fulfilled, is directly proportionate to the naturalness of your feeling of already being what you want to be, of already having what you desire. Think about what you plan to manifest. Then use your imagination to feel what that feels like in your body. Does it feel natural to you? I mean, does it really feel like this is the you that you are deciding to be? If you've been sickly for most of your life and you are assuming the feeling of a healthy body, does it feel natural to see yourself as a picture of perfect health? Do you feel that with your imagination and God all things are possible? If you've been overweight or addicted or poor or victimized or unlucky or weak or anything at all that is incongruous with your perfect well-being, can you feel natural when you assume the feeling of your new ideal? Do you feel entitled to prosperity, health, happiness? If that feels unnatural, you must take on this task that Neville defines in this way, quote, "The essential feeling of naturalness can be achieved by persistently filling your consciousness with imagination, imagining yourself being what you want to be or having what you desire," unquote. I readily admit that there are some things that you might desire or wish for that will never feel natural to you. This came up in an interview I recently did on a telecast for a national television network. The interviewer asked, "Do you mean to tell me, Dr. Dyer, that if I do all that you recommend and follow the law of assumption up to the letter, that I can become a linebacker for the New York Giants?" Now, this was a man about 5'7" tall, weighed maybe 150 pounds, a small man imagining himself in a very large man's physical position on a professional football team. I asked him, "Does it feel natural for you to be playing that position on the New York Giants?" His immediate response was, "No, not at all." And thus I reminded him that the time it takes your assumption to become reality is proportionate to the naturalness of being it. In my opinion, the interviewer would be doomed to failure with his assumption. However, I've seen professional basketball players who were 5'7" tall in a profession populated by giants, and not only could they play at an all-star level, but they could jump high enough to dunk a basketball. And when interviewed, they say without hesitation, "It feels natural to me, even though no one else can imagine it happening." This is relevant to you because it's actually rare to desire what simply feels unnatural. If being healthy, prosperous, happy, successful, strong, intelligent, and so on feel unnatural, then naturalness may be achieved by persistently using your imagination and your subjective attention to make this feeling stick. Throughout my life, it's felt natural to achieve prosperity, to heal my body, to teach self-reliance, and simply be happy. When I was a school teacher, most people said, and I still hear it to this day, you can't make any money as a school teacher. After all, it's a low-paying profession. Yet being prosperous and making money has always seemed just natural to me. When I was a school teacher, I taught extra courses at night school. I worked every summer, started a driver education business, gave public lectures for a fee on Monday nights, became a consultant on how to attract government grants, started a tutoring business, wrote books, took additional college credits to maximize my salary, and so on. Eventually, because it all felt so natural to me, I made teaching a very lucrative profession. At one time, I was restricted to a classroom as a teacher. Today, I'm still a teacher, only my classroom has now become the entire globe. Whatever it is that you want to manifest for yourself, do not be afraid to place into your imagination, assume the feeling of that wish fulfilled, and by all means make it feel as natural as apple pie. Move your highest dreams to a rightful, natural place in your imagination, and then do, as Ralph Waldo Emerson, the man whose portrait I stare at as I write, advised, "Build, therefore, your own world. As fast as you conform your life to the pure idea in your mind that will unfold its great proportions." Unquote. It is my long-held strong belief and knowing that you are never given the power to dream without the equivalent power to manifest that dream and make it your physical reality. And this is also from Emerson to chew on. Quote, "Every spirit builds itself a house, and beyond its house a world, and beyond its world a heaven. Know then that the world exists for you. For you is the phenomenon perfect. What are we that only can we see?" Unquote.
The belief now that not only am I what I have and what I do, but I also become what other people think of me. So my reputation becomes something really, really important. And young people, we call this peer pressure. We call this the time in a young person's life when what other people think of them is really very important. So we're go around and we're taught, as young people, that it's important to get along. It's important to fit in. It's important that other people like you. It's important for you to realize that if you're not liked by your friends, you're not going to be very happy. You're not going to get the things that you want for yourself in your life. And so now we've taken this little beautiful creature who just showed up from a microscopic dot, and everything was handled for it. And it was doing nothing. It was just being done. And we've imposed 3 really harsh kinds of requirements on this person. Forget all of this. Forget this little bundle of perfection, that was created by God and is a piece of God. And let's set it over here and let's create a new one and make it believe that it has to accomplish, it has to accumulate, and it has to win the approval of other people. Now, what I have learned over the years is that if someone, I gave a seminar not too long ago, and someone wrote me a letter and said, the seminar did not live up to my expectations, okay, and was sort of complaining about whatever that was. And I got thinking about that, like there were 1,000 people at the seminar, and if I have 1,000 people who come to my seminar, all with expectations, how in the world am I going to deliver a seminar and meet everybody else's expectations out there? How is it possible to do that? You can't focus. You can't go out there in front of an audience. You can't perform. You can't do anything in that focused on whether you're going to be approved of or liked or accepted by all of the people that are out there. One of the things that you discover and you learn is that you have to become independent of the good opinion of other people. And as I told each one of my children as they were growing up,
I'm not focused on, whether people like you or don't like you. You can't be responsible for that. In fact, you should forget about your reputation. It's a meaningless construct because it doesn't exist within you. You don't have a reputation that is going to be something that you can hang on to and use wherever you go. If you give a talk to 1,000 people, you got 1,000 reputations. And maybe will they walk out and you'll ask them, what was it about, or did you like it at all? And you get 1,000 different responses. That's the way the world is. And the greatest political landslide in American history, I think it was Mondale and Reagan. I think that's what it was. It was they said it was just a disaster for Mondale because he lost. 45% of the people voted for Walter Mondale for president. 45%. So when you get half the people plus a few percentage points, you got a landslide. So you're looking for, landslides are half the people plus one or two, and you're doing great, But all the people, everybody that you meet, trying to please everybody out there all the time. So it would seem to me that a person who is focused on who they are, rather than on what other people's expectations are, would be someone who wouldn't at all be concerned about what other people think of them, what their reputation is, and so on.
So you change from appearances to what I call quality thinking. Quality. What is the quality of my life? Rather than how does it appear to others? The quality versus appearance in your life means that you get that inner candle flame working in a way that gives you quality. Maslow, in defining self-actualizing, no-limit people, said they are independent of the good opinion of other people. Of the good opinion of other people. Independent of it. They're so busy advancing confidently, doing the things that make sense, and bringing success to changing their baby's diaper, and bringing success to weeding their garden, and bringing it to the job. They bring it on the airplane so that when they run into somebody who is rude to them, a stewardess that is rude, they don't see it as an attack on them. It's just where they are, and they send them love. Help them a little bit, They're kind. When somebody wants to get in on the freeway, and their one old temptation when they were on the 1 to the 6 side was to say, oh yeah, nobody's getting in front of me. I'm getting there first. It's like, they slow down a little bit. They don't have all that type A stuff of having to beat somebody else and having to defeat somebody. It's a new way of being.
I remember when someone in South Africa, a reporter asked me what I had to give up in order to be able to do what I've done in my life. I thought and thought and thought, and I said the only thing I've ever had to really give up is fitting in. It's feeling like I need to fit in, because it just isn't important to me to fit in or to be seen as someone who goes along.